In this video, we're going to show you a very simple mobile application. It consists of an opening screen with a button, and when we push the button, we're taken to a second screen that displays the words Hello World. On that screen, there's another button to take you back to the first screen. It's not a terribly exciting application, but it's a great first app to build because it will show you the fundamentals of building any kind of mobile app. To begin, we'll open Alpha Anywhere and create a new workspace. A workspace is a folder and a file that's used by Alpha to keep track of all the parts of your project. To build a new workspace, select Create a New Empty Workspace and click OK. In this example, we already have a folder called Demo, but you can always create a new folder if you want. Next, we'll give our workspace a name and click OK. The Startup Control Panel dialog box appears. Check both of the boxes and then click OK. This just sets up the development environment so that the web project's control panel appears when you open this workspace. And here is the web project's control panel. Here we're going to create a new web component. Alpha Anywhere apps are built using web components, and those components are then wrapped inside web pages later on. But we don't need to get into that for this example. Just click the New button, select Web Component, and click Next. Now choose the UX component, which is the most common component for building mobile apps, then click Next again. The next screen asks if we want to start with one of the predefined templates. We don't want to do that for this example, so we'll click the Start with a Blank UX Component Radio button and click OK. Now here we are in the UX Component Builder. This is where we actually do our work. To start, we're going to click on Controls from the list on the top left side, and we'll start with a blank slate. Now, before we start building, let's take a moment to understand Alpha's approach to building mobile apps. At the lowest level, an application is a collection of controls. A control might be a text field, it might be a button, it might be a picture, or it might be any number of controls that are built into Alpha. You can even build your own custom controls. Controls themselves are laid out on what we call panel cards, or they can be grouped into containers and then placed on panel cards. You could think of each panel card as a different screen in your application. And to move from panel card to panel card, the cards themselves are placed into what we call a panel navigator. These can be nested into each other to create very sophisticated designs, like we did here in this stock tracking application. But we're going to keep it simple for now, and we'll just use two panel cards. On the first one, we'll add a special container called a panel header. And we'll put some controls both into this panel header container, as well as a button control directly onto the panel card. Then on the second panel card, we'll put in another panel header container and a back button inside of that container. And then we'll place a text control directly to the panel card. Finally, we'll wire it up and make it all work. So let's get started by clicking the button to insert a panel navigator. Then we'll add in a couple of panel cards. And on each panel card, we're going to add a special kind of container called a panel header, which we'll find here. And we'll click on the second panel card and add another panel header. Now it's time to add the controls. In the panel header of the first card, we're going to add a static text control, which will serve as a title for the top of the page. And in the panel header of the second card, we're going to add three controls. We'll add a button, which will serve as the back button. We'll add a tab stop, which is used to put space in between the controls, and we'll add another static text control to let users know that they have moved to the Hello World page of the application. Now we'll label the back button with the word back so the users know what it does. and we'll add another static text control right onto the second panel card below our panel header. Now, just a quick note. If you ever accidentally put a control or a container or a panel card or a panel navigator into the wrong place by accident, you can move them to the correct position by clicking these up and down buttons. So, back to the static text control. We'll type in some text, and we'll jump back to the first panel card and add one more button below the panel header, and we'll label the button with the words, "Click Me." Great. So we finished laying out all the cards, containers, and controls. Now all we need to do is wire it up so that when the user clicks the Click Me button, they are brought from panel card 1 to panel card 2. And when the user clicks on the back button, they're brought from panel card 2 back to panel card 1. So to do that, we first click on the Click Me button control to select it, and we'll scroll down to the Click property and click the button to edit it. Now, we can write our own JavaScript here, but we don't have to. We'll let Alpha write it for us using Action JavaScript. So, we click the Add New Action button, then we filter down the list of all possible actions by typing the word Panel at the top. We'll select Panel Actions and click OK. A genie pops up, and we'll use the drop-downs to define the panel actions we want. We'll choose Set Active Panel, and the panel card we want to go to is panel card 2. And we'll wire up the back button the same way. We select the button, choose the click event, add a panel action, and this time we'll choose panel card 1. Okay, we're all done. It's time to see what we built. First, click this Mobile checkbox, which will tell Alpha that we want this to be a mobile application, not just a web application. Then click the Working Preview tab. And here's our app. Clicking the Click Me button brings us to the next page, and clicking the Back button brings us back.